Tony Stewart, the second guest of Bubba UNsponged. First guest was Dion a week ago, and I'm right on time, too.
Hello.
Hey, you're live.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Sound kind of busy.
I'm actually on the phone with Brett Frood.
Oh, that guy scares me.
Doing that business stuff.
That guy scares me a lot. I don't know who I'm more scared of, Frood or Arnie. Whew.
Well, you should be more scared of Arnie, to be honest.
Well, I heard I could take Arnie physically. I don't know if I could take Frood. He's a wrestler.
Well, no, he was a lacrosse player. He's really not a wrestler.
Well, tell Frood that I already have put him ahead of Arnie just so I can get on the good, maybe put some good words in for me. You used to have to put good words in for me for Arnie, but I think I'm good there.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
All right.
So far.
So, what do you mean so far? Like I could still mess it up?
You can always come on. Let's be realistic about this.
Who are you talking to, Big Papa, huh? So are you on your plane right now?
No, I'm actually at home for a day, which I don't get very often.
Columbus or North Carolina?
Columbus.
Wow. If you would prefer, do you prefer to be in Columbus?
Yeah, tenfold.
Tenfold.
I love my place here at home, and like last night I got home, and it's been kind of a rough week. We had to bury Dick Jordan, who was the vice president of USAC and director of communications, and so we had his celebration of life on Monday, and then my aunt passed away last week, and we had her funeral yesterday. So not the way that I wanted to start the week off by any means, but when I got home yesterday, I was literally just I've been exhausted just getting back from Knoxville Nationals and everything, and laying in bed looking out the window across the lake, and a bunch of deer were actually in the backyard. I mean, within 100 feet of the window, and just watching them. That's what makes coming home so special to me.
That's your therapy. Deer. It's called deer. It's called deer therapy. Is what it's called. It's brand new. It's a brand new thing that Tony Stewart started. It's called deer therapy. Remember when we were together last year and we were going through your property and you had to stop by the deer deal, and there was like 3 of these female deers, and these are wild deers that would come up to you and let you feed them. 3 of them.
Yeah, they come up and eat right out of my hand.
The deer whisperer. Hey, by the way, congratulations. I don't want you to get mad at me. I mean, you might always be Carl Kinzer's bitch, but you are the second winningest World of Outlaw owner ever.
I am. I'm extremely proud of that. I had no clue that's what was going on. I had no idea milestone-wise that we were even close to that. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. I mean, to have 300 wins at TSR in the World of Outlaws is, that's no small feat.
Yeah, but when 15's driving for you, it's almost not even fair. He's so damn good. God, he's so good. Jeez.
Well, the funny part though is I'm like, all right, well, how many are we behind Carl Kinzer? And it's another 300 plus like 25 or something on top of it. So
I mean, you're gonna have to be a car owner past AJ's age in order to be even in the money.
Exactly. I mean, to sit there and think, wow, all these years we've had it and we've got to this, and basically saying we're not even to the halfway point of what we would have to get to get the number one. But I think rightfully so. I mean, Carl Kinzer has definitely been one person that's shaped the sport more than anybody, and for him to have that milestone, I think it's 625 is where he's at. I mean, that's something that probably nobody will ever obtain and reach that goal.
Well, Tony and Carl built his own motors and did all that. I mean,
yeah,
man.
Nobody does that anymore. I mean, that's non-existent anymore in the sport.
So any plans, like, is there any big monumental stuff? Is sumo going? Like, when you do the Hall of Fame next year, like, I'm sure Nelson's going to be there and Pam. Are you already planning, like, what's going to happen?
Actually, that was one of the topics of conversation for Brett. He was asking if we wanted to have any get together or gathering or party or anything, and I said absolutely not. So
hold on. The official answer is absolutely not.
Well, actually, that's the PG version of my answer. So.
Right. I understand. Tony Stewart on is my second guest of Bubba UnSponged. Do you know who my first guest was, Tony?
Didn't you say Deion Sanders?
Yes.
Was your first?
And look at me, I've gotten 2 Hall of Famers in a row. I mean, how special am I? People shouldn't be counting me down, buddy. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, they're foolish for doing that in the first place. So.
And guess who I might have next week?
No clue.
The only person that might be more popular from Indiana than you.
Larry Bird?
Larry Bird. Did you get that text I sent you?
I did. And I actually reached out to him, and he got a response, and we're trying to figure it out.
I was talking to Larry, sending him some stuff, some Bubba Army stuff, and so like rather than check on me or whatever, he's like, "Hey, don't you know Tony? Give him my number. I want to go fish." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll tell him that, buddy." Tony Stewart on the phone. Tony, what makes you the happiest? Like, is right now being in Columbus, Indiana, in your king-size bed, overlooking your 3,000-acre lake with 5,000 deer in the back? Is that what make you that? Is that your happiest?
It does make me pretty happy. I'll be honest. It's you know, this is all self-inflicted what I'm talking about, but I mean, this is the busiest year I've ever had in my career in my life. I thought NASCAR was busy, and it was. It was very, very busy. You know, but you know, my schedule this year, I've been trying to get back to form, driving a sprint car, and realistically, the only way to do that and to stay caught up with the guys that are the most competitive guys in the industry is really just to be at the racetrack racing every chance I get.
Yeah, but this is your most so far. I mean, you just won that $26,000 feature. So far, I think. I mean, not talking about your USAC days and things like that, but post NASCAR, I think this year's been your best sprint car year so far.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, we've won a couple all-star races already, and like I said, the one paid $26,000 to win. So, we've won some decent races this year, and it's been a good season so far. And realistically, I mean, we've got a lot coming down the road on the sprint car side. That we have to look forward to this year with the Ford motor that we're developing and getting ready to get that on track soon. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on there. But, that's the only way to get competitive with these guys is just to be racing as much as you can. And, it's as much for Jimmy Carr as myself. I mean, my crew chief Jimmy is...
Poor Jimmy.
When we were down, 2.5 years there and didn't run and... he wasn't racing, I wasn't racing, and when we both started back, I don't think either one of us really realized how far it was going to get him behind as well. And, it's when you aren't racing, you're not staying up on, how the sport's changing. And so, it took a while for me to adjust, but at the same time, it took a while for Jimmy to adjust. And, it's kind of a multiplier. I mean, and it doesn't start with him necessarily, but I mean, I had to get back in form, but in the meantime, I mean, he was having to do the same thing. So if the cars are off a little bit and I'm off a little bit, it just makes it worse. And but when he started sorting some stuff out, and the cars were driving better, then I was able to do more in them, and it was giving me more confidence. And so we're kind of growing back into form together from that standpoint.
Tony Stewart on the phone. And it's my second edition of Bubba UnSponged. Tony, obviously Donnie Schatz, I think, is he the second winningest World Outlaw driver ever? I think
you're right.
I think I'm right. Obviously, Donnie's been driving you for well over a decade, and I know that in some testing sessions, a lot of time Donnie will come. How close are you and Donnie in driving similarities? Because I know a lot of times in Cup, towards the latter part of your year, and I don't think I'm talking out of turn here, but Kevin sometimes would get into 14 and set it up for Kevin, and you're like, man, this thing pushes like a dump truck. I can't drive this thing. But how similar are you and Donnie when you guys are testing? And Donnie, okay, well, you know what, Smoke, go try this. Are you and Donnie fairly similar?
A lot closer than people would think, and it is. I mean, it's really ironic because, I mean, even when you're going back to the NASCAR side, I mean, when Bobby Labonte and I were teammates, I liked my car a lot freer than Bobby did. And the same thing with Harvick. I mean, Harvick's, on top of his game. And if I tried his setup in my car, it was always way too tight. for me. So, it doesn't always transfer. I mean, just because it works for one guy doesn't mean it does for the other guy. But it seems with Donnie and I that our feedback, the biggest thing isn't so much whether we can race each other's setups, but it's more our feedback of what we feel in the car is the same, and that helps the team, and it helps us as well about when we're validating each other's feel in the car. It just gives us both confidence that our feel of what the race car is doing is right, and that we're going the right direction.
Between your current roster, Tony, like Clint, Eric, Suarez Kid, and Kevin, which guy of your four is most? I would probably say probably Boyer because he's a dirt guy. But is Clint more like you in how he likes his cars and how you liked your cars?
Well, the hard part is the way the cars are now are quite a bit different than when I drove them. Even the new aero package that they have. So it's really hard to say. I mean, Clint didn't come on till he replaced me. So we never really had a chance to sit there and be on the same team at the same time and know what our setups were. But I would say if I had to guess, I would say Clint's probably the one on the Cup side that our styles are probably more similar to each other because of that dirt background. But it's hard to say, and so much has changed in NASCAR. You wouldn't think that retiring at the end of 2016, here we are in 19, that things would be much different. But it's quite a bit different, actually.
Out of all your guys, Tony, who do you have to talk? Who do you got to be Tony Gibbs to and talk down? Like they're full hot on the deal. I don't know if it was Joe that talked you down more. It was probably Zippy back in the day. But like who on your stable is kind of that you got to kind of step in?
Oh, for sure, Boyer. Boyer's like a 5-gallon bucket of ping pong balls.
He's like what? He's like what?
Watch it go. Holy crap! That just happened. But he's definitely the most emotional of all the guys that we have, for sure.
You know who I love is Eric. What a good kid. And Tony, it was so good to see you, put him in SHR. And, it really accentuates how good your stuff is and how, I'm not saying he came from mediocre stuff, but, the 10 car is competitive and he's a good Tampa boy and he's a great kid.
Yeah, he is. And I think it's all right to say where he was at wasn't to the standard that he needed of a car that he needed to be in. And, those guys that he was driving for were doing the best they could with what they had. And, but it was nice to be able to get him out of that situation into our cars and, now put him in a situation where he's in equipment that we know he can be successful in and really showcase his talent. I don't think anybody really gave Eric the credit that he was due. And like I said, this year we haven't had the year at SHR that we'd like to have by any means, but, a lot of that's because there's been drastic rule changes this year that we're still trying to get caught up on. But the sport in general, you never get caught up to it. It's, and it's this way in all of racing, whether it's, with the NASCAR side or whether it's IndyCar or sprint car racing, the needle always is moving because technology is always changing. So, you always hear teams say, well, we're a little bit off. Well, it's just because something in the sport changed and what you were doing that was working doesn't work anymore. And it's been trying to find a new equation of what works and, what makes it successful. So, but we're definitely a little bit off of what our standard is with SHR, but
you got to four. You got to four though, and he's the man. Period. The four's the man.
He's starting to come into it. So getting one of them in form's good. We just got to try to get the other three in the same position now.
How much longer do you think the four? I think the four could go another 6-7 years if you wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin's on top of his game right now. He's there's no doubt about it. I don't think there's anybody that even remotely dispute. He's one of probably 3 or 4 marquee drivers out there right now that every team wants to have. So, it's just a matter of, how long does he want to be in the sport and stay in the sport? And, I think as long as he's on top of his game like he is right now, I don't think he has any ambitions of going anywhere.
But I think Kevin's really diversified pretty well too. Like he's in that management stuff with the fighters and he's really, he's done some really good, like you've done, I don't even know if anybody would even know that a guy from Columbus, Indiana that didn't take any business classes and basically went to racing college would have as many successful things that you do, but you just got so many great things. You got so many great people. I mean, a lot of people don't know that you own an RC car company. You own 2 or 3 dirt tracks, dirt teams, True Speed Communications. I mean, Tony, who would have ever thought some dumbass from Columbus would be able to pull that off?
Well, this dumbass didn't know for sure. That was plain and simple. But and honestly, I don't have to be smart. I don't have to be the smartest guy to run all this stuff and have my name on all of it. The biggest thing that I've had to do is know how to hire the right people.
Yeah.
And that's the big key is, if you can put the right people in place, you don't have to be the smartest guy. You just have to know how to hire the smart people to put in those places.
Well, we had to go through the pigs and the Jody effers to get to the right people, but we got them now, don't we, bud?
That's right.
Tony Stewart on the phone.
Always a trial and error process, bud.
Sumo was telling me a story, Tony, and I don't know that you've ever told it to me, and I think, I don't know if you've said it a lot on interviews and things like that, but I think it's a fascinating story, and it's when you're doing your rookie test at Indy. And I think it was AJ and maybe Unser, and you have to go out there and do certain levels, like 160, then you got to get it to 180, and then you got to get it to like something, and they're out there on the radio talking to you, and you zip one going like, I don't know, 220, 230, and they got on the radio and go, okay, kid, back it down. Is that how it went down?
No, not at rookie orientation, but when we took our rookie test, we with Larry Curry, who was the competition director and was running my car basically. We decided that when we went to take our rookie orientation test that it's in 4 phases. It's 4 10-lap phases. And what we decided we were going to try to do was break the record for doing it in the least amount of laps. So we put enough fuel in the car to run the first 2-lap or the first 20 laps, which would have been the first 2 segments back to back. And so you basically had an out lap, and then the first lap was the first of the first 10-lap phase. And then once we got through that, went to the second speed bracket and ran those 10, and then an in lap. So basically with 22 laps. And the intention was to do the same thing the next run, which was to run 10 more for the third phase, and then immediately go to the fourth phase and run 10 laps and run 22 with an in and out lap and be done with it and try to set it at 44 laps, which is absolutely the minimum that you could do it in. And the third phase we ran, we ran the first 2 phases exactly like we'd planned, did it in 22 laps, came in. The third phase went out, had the out lap, ran the 10 laps, and then he called me in on the radio, and I'm like, man, what happened? I can't figure out what lap that I missed the speed bracket, because if you miss one, it cancels the whole run out. So tried to figure out what lap I missed it, and came in and asked Larry. I said, what lap did I break out of the speed bracket? And he goes, no, you're fine. And I said, well, what are we doing? He just had this really devious grin on his face, and I'm like, all right, what's he up to? And so during rookie orientation, you didn't have to run a pop-off valve on the turbocharger. So, we basically, I watched him reach down and adjust the boost in the car, which is done from inside the car. And when he adjusted it, it was a big change. And so he just looked at me, and, they put tires on it, put fuel, and he goes, go have fun. So the last phase is 10 laps that are fairly consistent laps of whatever speed you want to run. And that's when we broke the track record, ran 2:33.
What's it like? And at 2:33 average, what
actually,
are you?
I'm wrong. That was 2:37.
Yeah, I thought it was closer to 2:38, actually.
Yeah,
like 2:37 and change. But at 2:37, Tony, at an average speed at Indy at 2:37, does that make it 2:45 down the back?
It actually, and I actually talked to Larry about this because I thought it was around 2:48 or something. And Larry said that on the telemetry going into turn 3, we actually got up to 2:50.
So, Tony, what is it? I mean, like, Tony, you've raced everything. You've raced bar stools, you've raced midget, silver, everything. Indy, you even went to Lewis Hamilton's, like, F1 deal and, like, an exhibition deal. What's it like going 250 into turn 3 at Indy? I mean, I know you're not lifting. You're just straight matted. I mean, is your helmet buffering? Can you get a visual on anything? Is everything just moving around, or does it suck down and just want to go?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it did. I mean, it just wanted to push you down. I mean, aerodynamics of the helmets then were very similar to the race car, oddly enough. I mean, there was a wicker bill on the front of the helmet that, pushed the front of the helmet down, and there was one on the top of the helmet that kind of pushed the whole helmet down and back. So being able to tune those and change the sizes of them would hold that in a neutral position on your head. But, when we got up to that speed, that's a speed nobody had been to yet. And it basically just tried to push you down in the car further, and it did the same thing with the race car. We got to the speed where it kind of got to an area where you think that, you're just going to get to where it gets out of control. And in all honesty, it actually felt the opposite. I mean, it seemed like you got over a hump speed-wise that it sat there, and the faster it went, the more you could just feel the car, push down into the racetrack like it had more grip. So, it was a pretty cool feeling.
Isn't that, Tony, isn't that your car? Isn't that the car that's in your basement in your bar?
No, that's the car that's actually in my basement is the car that I ran at the 98 Indy 500. John Menard has the car that we ran in 96.
The 250 car?
Yeah.
Out of all, Tony Stewart on the phone, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Hall of Fame, entry into next year's NASCAR Hall of Fame. Tony, what's the sketchiest thing, is it Loudon in the Long Pond? Is it Lawrenceburg in a non-wing? Is it going into turn one at Indy? What's, even being an accomplished racer like you, and you've done it all. I mean, road racing, dirt, non-wing, 410s, which are very violent. What's the sketchy, and is it Williams Grove when your right front starts coming up? What's the sketchiest as a racer?
Oh, man.
And nobody's ever asked that for you, have they, Tony?
I don't think so.
And people don't realize, I don't think it's probably Daytona. I don't think it's probably Bristol. I mean, I got to think it's got to be maybe like a non-wing deal at Lawrenceburg or a non-wing deal at, one of these big tracks.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the sprint cars. I don't think it even matters whether it's a wing or a non-wing. I mean, there's definitely tracks that we go to that are sketchy that how you have to run in the corner and everything makes you cringe versus it makes the NASCAR side look really easy compared to.
Yeah, I would say that probably the sketchiest thing in racing for you would be not any NASCAR related stuff. It would probably be something sprint car wise.
Oh, no doubt, for sure.
How's Williams? I've often heard that Williams Grove, when your front starts lift up, is sketchy. Is that sketchy?
No, not really. I mean, I guess, and it's not because it's my track by any means, but probably the one thing that makes me probably the most uneasy is trying to run right up against the wall at Eldora Speedway, and to run in on the wall with a wing car. It's to sit there and trust that it's going to hold when you get there, because a lot of times when you're up against the wall like that, I mean, you're running, in qualifying, you're running 12.8, 12.9 second laps, and by the time you get to the race, you're running 14-second laps. But to run a 14-second lap around a half-mile track and to go in 2 feet off the wall and expect it to stick, I mean, if you miss, you're in the wall. There's no whether it's questionable or this and that. I mean, it's make it, take it, miss it, kiss it, and to sit there and trust the car. That's probably, of all the places I've been to, that's the one that I have the most trouble with is going to my own track at Eldora.
And I mean, it is because that right front, you just get it out of whack just a little bit, hit that little bit of a cushion or something, and you're sucking yourself right into the wall.
Yeah,
and it's bad.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so we're going to play the word association game. I'm just going to mention some names, and whether there's a story behind it or just one word. I did this with Dion, too. And some of them are obscure names. They're not the most popular names in the world, but I think that you all have I think every one of them will bring a smile to your face, Tony, and I think you probably have a little bit of something about every one of these guys. First one, Tony Bittenhausen.
Schmuck. I mean, that's what his nickname was.
I know. That's why his nickname was. That's why I started with it.
Yeah, and one thing about Tony Bittenhausen, he had a bum arm and hand that he'd hurt in his racing career, and I got to play pool with him one night while we were at the Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and watching him play pool, it was incredible how good an aim he had. I mean, he was shooting with his strong arm, but aiming with his weak arm, and how he was able to line up a shot and how accurate he was. I mean, it was just like how talented he was as a race car driver. He could play a mean game of pool.
And what people don't realize, if you're called a Tony Bentonhausen at the track, then what does that mean?
Oh, take your uniform off. You've been in your uniform way too long.
Tony Bentonhausen would wear it. He would wear it all day, wouldn't he?
Oh, he'd leave the race. Well, I mean, this is what I was told back in the day, that he'd leave the racetrack and wear his uniform to the bar and stuff. And it's like, so we joke around and we're like, hey, Bentonhausen, get your uniform off. The race was over 2 hours ago.
Hey, one time Tyler won a race. I think it was a 360 race at my place, and it was like the first one he had won. It was a big deal. You were in it. I think you finished second, and Tyler was just in the moment and everything, and he had his uniform on. He wouldn't take it off, and Tony went up and said, hey, Tyler Bentonhausen, take it off your suit, buddy. It's midnight.
Yeah. Oh, the lights, you were shut the track lights off. There weren't any fans around anymore. He was just still, like you said, he was in the moment and stoked. And it was like, hey, take your uniform off. The races are over.
Tony,
time to go home, bud.
Take your uniform off, Tony. Dale Sr. Of course, I had to say. I mean, that's almost like you just got to say that. I mean, I got to ask you.
Well, if you're going to use one word, you got to say intimidator. But, in 2000, the last half of the season, in the 2000 season, they line you up in the garage area according to your point standings, and we were right next to each other. And so I got to spend the whole last half of the year around him, and got to spend a lot of neat moments kind of behind the scenes with him as well. And he was the intimidator on the track, but he was somebody that was a great role model and somebody that was a lot of fun to be with outside of the track as well, and somebody that definitely, as a race fan, we all miss him, but excuse me, even more so, I mean, just the man that he was, away from racing was somebody that I miss him as now.
I got to tell you, man, a lot of people don't remember the 99 Daytona. You come in as a rook, you sit on the outside pole, and then in the twin 125s, you and the 3 were going at it. And I think that's kind of the seal that broke. I think Dale Sr. at that time said, man, I got an Indiana hot shoe here.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot of lessons the hard way. But, there were times that he would take you aside, too, when nobody was around and really help you understand the sport. And that's the side of him that I miss.
The next name I'm going to mention to you is probably, I don't know, I would say probably your racing sensei, and that's Super Tex, A.J. Foyt, the man.
Oh, yeah,
Period.
My hero.
Oh.
Definitely my hero. I mean, he's... the thing about that made AJ was that, didn't matter what kind of car that he raced, he was always competitive and pretty much won in every type of race car that he ever drove. And that's something that, not a lot of people even race that many different types of cars, let alone can say that they're that competitive and have the ability to win in.
But Tony, wouldn't you say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but wouldn't you say that you, and I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your ass, but I'm just saying, wouldn't you say that you would be the nearest to AJ in the modern era? And I mean, you're even retired now, but you're still racing dirt and things like that. But you came up through USAC, you came up through midgets, you raced trucks, you raced Daytona, you raced Indy. I mean, your career is very AJ-like, isn't it? Maybe that's why you guys get along so well.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's fair to say that too. It's our peers always talk about it that way as well, and but yeah, that's and it wasn't designed. My career wasn't designed that way. That's just the way my career path worked out as well. Being able to do all that, and it's I think that is part of the reason that we have the connection that we have as friends. Is that we both understand what it's like to go to an IndyCar race one night and then the next week go run a stock car and how hard and challenging that is. And, there's just not a lot of guys that, in this era, there's just not guys that even do that anymore.
No.
They
Kyle.
specialize in one thing and they pretty much run one type of car and that's it. And, I don't even think Kyle would put in that category. I mean, I guess a little bit because he still goes back and runs a late model, his pavement late models once in a while. But, by the time you get to the NASCAR Premier Series and you're running Cup and Xfinity and the Truck Series, they all kind of blend in with those three. But, guys getting outside of that, they really don't do that a lot anymore. I mean, and we are seeing more and more. There's some of the guys that run in the Truck Series and Xfinity Series that, like Matt Crafton and some of these guys that go run a modified some on dirt and have fun doing that. So, there are some guys that do it a little bit, but there's not guys that, run 6 or 8 different types of cars all year. I mean, Larson's a good example. Bell is as well. I mean, they'll run a midget on dirt. They'll run a wing sprint car on dirt. But
I like that Bell. I like that Bell kid. I like him a lot.
I think he's the best out there right now.
God, I like that kid.
I mean, I think he's the best young guy. And some will dispute. I mean, I even think he's better than Larson right now.
He's good, and he's a good kid too. He really is. You want my next name? My next obscure name for you, Tony Stewart? Poncho Carter.
Poncho. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not really sure I know what angle you're working here, but
no, I'm
what
just
I
like
know of Poncho is that he was the first guy to win all 3 of the USAC national championships with the midget sprint and silver crown, which we call the triple crown now. So it took him 5 years to do it. He won. I can't remember the order that he won them, but there was an off year in between each. He won one of the championships, had an off year, won another championship off year, and then won the 3rd championship. So he was the original Triple Crown winner.
Next name I'm going to mention is my last one. And he's the guy that if I'm in Indiana and I got in a little scuffle, me and Sumo need a little backup, and you're not around, I'm calling the real deal Don O'Neill, the Junkin' man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's Mr. No-Neck. I mean, his head is the size of a 5-gallon bucket.
I love that guy, though. He'll kick your ass and hit you over the head with the Pro Shock. He doesn't even care.
No, not at all. He won't think twice about it either, which he made that very evident when the small period of time that I dated his sister.
Oh, hold on. I never knew that. I never knew that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I dated his sister.
And what did the real deal have to say about that?
He just basically said, if you do my sister wrong, it's not going to end well for you, which I already knew that. So he didn't really have to tell me that part, which I told him. I said, I already pretty much had that figured out.
Tony Stewart will size a guy up, and he'd be like, I'm not messing with that no-neck mother effer. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, at the time I was dating his sister, I weighed about 165 pounds. Don weighs probably about 260, and we'll flat whip your ass. So
yeah. And drink a case of beer afterwards.
Well, he'll sit there and drink a case of beer while he's whipping your ass.
Yeah, exactly. White flag at Talladega. Tony Stewart, do you want to be first or second? And who do you want dancing with you? You want the 4 dancing with you, and you want to be in second?
I'd rather be leading. I mean, it's guys like me. We always want the ball with 5 seconds to go on the clock. So I'd much rather be leading. Yeah, I would probably want Daniel Suarez or Eric Amarola behind me at that point.
Yeah, because I listen to you.
Well, they're not going to try to pass me.
I know it. That's what I'm saying.
They know if they pass the boss, they're going to get their ass ripped. So,
but I'm telling you, the four will put you in the wall.
Maneuver on you.
Yeah, 4 will put you in the wall.
He wouldn't put you in the wall, but he would put a maneuver on you off a 4 that probably would result in you running second to him. So, he's the guy I would trust the most, but at the same time trust the least.
Who's the guy that doesn't run SHR? 1 lap to go, Talladega, you're winning it, and you got such and such on your bumper, and you're like, oh, great, I just know this guy's going to wear me out. He's not even going to race me cool like Mark Martin. He's just going to be a real dick. God, this guy's going to rub me raw, and I'll have to do every gangster Columbus, Indiana move I know to keep him off me. Who's that guy?
Well, and it's because he's so good at restrictor plate racing that it would have to be Joey Logano, no doubt. I mean, Joey would, if he was in that situation and he was running second to us, I promise you would not make our life easy that last lap, and that is for sure the last guy that I would want to have to deal with on the last lap outside of SHR.
Hold on.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little.
God, that's my guy. That's my Tony Stewart.
And he still does it every now and then.
I know, and I saw that race too I saw that race when he ran you clear down to the yellow line, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a coffee percolating right here when Tony gets out.
Because as he's doing it, I'm underneath him, and I'm like, at some point he's going to stop. Surely common sense is going to stop. And he almost ran us all the way in the grass, and I picked up so much garbage on the tires that when I got down to the first turn, I slid halfway across the racetrack. So, but yeah, I don't know, man. I wish I'd had the opportunity to finish that fight. I was ready for it.
Kokomo, Gas City.
The worst part was that our guys from, I I think it was guys from Danica's team came down, and they were the ones that grabbed me and pulled me away from him, which that even made me madder. Like, damn it, don't pull the boss away.
What's the maddest you've ever been in a NASCAR situation? And I know you probably look back at it now and it'd be, would have been the Gordon deal, would have been, when you threw the helmet in Martin's, whatever the hell. What's been the maddest? And of course, you're probably not happy about it now. Like, you're probably like, man, I can't believe I did that. But like, what's the maddest you ever got?
Oh, I would say Logano was probably the maddest that I was at anybody. I mean, because the thing is, I get along with Joey and I like Joey, but it's about respect and how you want guys to race you, and you sit there and you saw Matt Kenseth have his run-in with Joey, and there's a lot of guys that have had a problem with Joey at some point, and Keselowski, but it's respect, and it's what I was taught when I came in the sport, and Joey's upbringing and my upbringing were quite a bit different, so how he learned and how I learned were two different ways, but but there's no doubt that Joey's a great talent. He's a great race car driver, and he's going to go a long way. I mean, he already has. I mean, he's won a championship now, and
he's good. I'll tell you, he's good, Tony. You get mad. I get mad at him sometime and cuss him, and Sumo cusses him too. But he's good. I mean, maybe that's why we cuss him, is because he's good.
Well, I just think there's times when I think there's cases where he could do things a little different, and I don't think he really realizes sometimes what he does and how it affects other people. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's no doubting that he can drive the car. He's got the talent, and he knows how to go out and win races.
Now I'm going to mention a guy that I like to watch, and you probably are getting mad at me. So I really don't know how you feel about this guy, because we've never had even a private conversation about this guy. But I do like him, and I think he has some Tony in him a little bit. The 2 kid, Keselowski. How do you feel about Brad?
A lot like Joey.
Just refer back to the 22.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why they're good teammates. I mean, they're 2 peas in a pod. But I don't know. I think Joey's a bigger talent than Brad is, but I think Brad thinks he's better than he is a lot of times. But again, I mean, Brad's a good driver, knows how to win. But I think what kind of rubs me the wrong way with Brad is you'll be in conversations and we'll be in meetings where at some point everybody speaks, and Brad just kind of talks like he's a lot smarter than everybody, and I definitely don't believe that's the case. I don't think he's any smarter than anybody in that group, and but he's him.
How about the 18 kid? He's a driver. God, he's a driver too.
I like Kyle. If there was one driver that I could rob from an organization, that's the guy I would go steal.
He can drive, Tony, can he? God, he can drive.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony Stewart on the phone. Tony, last couple questions. Kokomo, Gas City, Terre Haute, Lawrenceburg, Putnamville. If you had to pick one to run a 410 non-wing, where would it be?
I'd have to pick Kokomo, to be honest. I mean, they do such a great job there.
They do.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a midget show, a non-wing sprint car show, a wing sprint car show, modified, late models. As far as Indiana tracks go, I mean, I feel like that's the premier.
I don't know, though. Hobstadt, our boy. I mean, you can't.
That's a good point.
I mean,
that's a good point. We almost forget about Helfrich down there because he's right down there.
You do, because you almost make him a Kentucky guy, don't you? Almost.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be I think the close second.
Yeah.
As far as my style of racing and everything, I mean, there's great tracks. I mean, Lawrenceburg's awesome. I mean, Lawrenceburg is a man's track.
Oh yeah.
You've got to be aggressive and you've got to have big balls to get around there. But I still think apples to apples and with the diverse type of cars they run there and how good the show is. I mean, Kokomo, I just think still the best.
But man, I tell you, Helfrich, he knows how to track prep. If I could get him and your boy Rob from Eldora, I mean, Rob. Let me tell you something. You don't give your boy Rob from Eldora enough credit. I'm just telling you that.
I do. I do give him enough credit.
I'm just telling you that guy is just straight money.
Well, we had our Kings Royal and we had 4 days of racing up there this year, and I had meetings in California pretty much the whole week. And got back on Thursday, so I could only watch the races online on Wednesday and Thursday. And great racetrack. When I did get back, I sat in the suite Friday and pretty much let him do what he was doing, and just offered a couple things that I would do different on Saturday, and we put what he was doing and what my ideas together, and he had an unbelievable racetrack on Saturday.
Is that what the new Tony is calling it now? I offered a few things that you would do different.
Well,
I'm calling BS on that, buddy. I'm calling BS.
I know you're trying to call BS, but I'm telling you, it was, I sat there and only once did I call him through the whole night. And I sat there and watched what he had on the racetrack, and I kind of had an idea that I was thinking in my head, but I wanted to see what he was thinking.
Right.
And I called to him. I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm watching what you're doing." I said, "Everything looks good." I said, "Just want to follow your mindset on it and follow with what you're thinking right now." And so, I listened to what his thought was, and at the end of the night, we were just about done with the prep for the next day for Saturday's race. And I said, "Hey," I said, "the only thing I would have done different than what you did," I said, "everything you did is exactly what I would have done, except for one thing, and it wasn't a major adjustment." But I explained to him why, and he kind of agreed, and so the next night that's what we did, and it all worked out. But I mean, it's nice for me having the confidence to have, see how much Rob's grown and how much experience he's gained in the last couple of years, to where I don't feel like at the big events I got to be there to babysit. I feel like he's got it under control.
At the big events, you can actually be an owner and a car owner and actually kind of sit back and enjoy the races and not have to have a headset and worry about track prep.
Well, and gives me the opportunity to look at everything else that's going on at the racetrack too, and sit there and say, well, I like this, but what are the other things that we could do, and look at other things just other than the racing surface. Look what's going on in the stands. Look at when we had downtime, they're saying what could we do to either entertain the fans during that or shorten the duration of the downtime. So. When you can get one aspect of it the way you want it, then it gives you the opportunity to look at the other aspects of the program.
Hey, and Roger does a good job, too. He really does. I mean, people don't realize, I own a track on a very smaller scale, and Roger, to keep a facility that big with that many working pieces and that equipment and the food and the merchandise and the vendors and the prep and the employees, and it's mind-boggling. People don't have any idea how... and again, on the scale that you guys do with the premier event, $175,000, Tony, for the King's Royal. What are you thinking? Didn't Donnie tell you, man, boss, you're giving away too much?
No, not at all. Trust me, he wants his percentage of that money that he gets if he wins. So
is that more than Knoxville now, Tony? Is it more than Knoxville now?
Yeah, Knoxville pays $150 to win.
Yeah, $175. Was this the first year that the Kings was $175?
Yeah, and we had to do something because last year the 50-50 drawing paid more. It paid $2 more to win the 50-50 drawing than it did to win the race. And
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
No, the race pays $50,000 to win, and the 50-50 paid $50,002 to win.
Wow.
So this year it even went up from that. It was the 50-50 paid $60,228, I believe.
Wow.
So we had to do something, obviously, but
that's a huge jump. That's a huge jump, T. Woo.
Yeah, I think the 50-50 at Knoxville was 30 some odd thousand.
How's my boy Gooch doing? How's my boy Gooch?
He's good. He's his son just started hockey again and just started back into school for the year, so he's back in hockey dad mode. He used to drive the motorhome. Now I drive the motorhome, and he drives the T-shirt trailer.
You're driving the motorhome now?
Yeah, the big white whale.
It is the big white whale. You probably do pretty good on that, and you probably at the end of the day probably like it. It's a top opportunity for you to kind of gather your bearings and whatever.
I do like driving it. I'll be honest. It's when you sit there and wonder what it would like to be a truck driver driving down the road. That motorhome that I have is basically a truck chassis, so it's the same. It's a semi basically with a box on the back of it and living quarters. So it's fun for me to drive it, but it's one that you got to have a lot of respect for because it's a 48,000 pound motorhome that it doesn't accelerate fast and it doesn't stop fast either. So
these guys on 465 don't even know that Tony Stewart just passed him on the high side. They don't have any idea.
Yeah, and nor do they know that if they slam on the brakes in front of me that I can't stop. I'll probably drive through them.
One last question. It's a 10-lap shootout. SHR prepares your car. Hendricks prepares the other two. It's you versus Gordon versus Junior in a 10-lap shootout at Bristol. What happens?
Man, I don't know.
I mean, who do you like? Who do you like?
Know.
Who was better at Bristol, you, Jeff, or Junior?
Well, I hate to say it, but I think both of them were actually better than me. I would say probably Jeff was better than both of us, but I think Junior was actually even better than I was at Bristol. I mean, we led a lot of laps and ran up front at a lot of the races. I just never could. I won one time in my 20 years in Cup. I won one race at Bristol.
Same question, different track, Martinsville, because you were good there.
Yeah, but so was Junior and Jeff. I would say I like my odds better. I would say it would be between Jeff and I at Martinsville.
I remember you took the 48 on the high side, and I thought there's no way. I remember, and he kind of almost he had to hit that curb. Remember that? I think it was at 05 that you took him on the high side. I
squeezed him. No, this was 2011.
11, that's right, when you won the championship.
I did not give him any room, and I think that was professional courtesy that day. I mean, I got him on the curb, which is the reason I got around him, but I think a lot of that was, we had our alliance with Hendrick, and, the Hendrick guys weren't in the running for the championship anymore at that point, and Jimmy knew what it meant. Jimmy and I were good friends, and, he would have won the race if he could, obviously, but he wasn't going to do anything to put me in a bad spot, and I was kind of in a situation where, I couldn't be a good friend to Jimmy that day. I had to kind of
boss hog your way down there, didn't you?
I needed that win worse than he did, and he knew that as well. But and he didn't give it to me. But like I said, I got him kind of pinned on that curb, and that gave me the opportunity to get around him. And if it was anybody else but him, I mean, they probably would have.
If that would have been a 2-car, it might have been different. You might have got ran up the hill on that deal.
Oh, guarantee it. Guarantee I'd have got run over.
The last question is, I never even knew Tony until I saw you a few months ago or maybe in November last year. I didn't know how close you and Jimmy I didn't know you were that close with Jimmy. And I asked you a question. I go, hey, out of all your helmets, because what do you have, a couple hundred? One of the things that people don't know is Tony collects helmets. And he's got his, of course, an A.J. Foyt helmet and Al Unser. He's got just helmets from everybody in his downstairs little bar, area. And I asked you, because I thought for sure it'd be an A.J. or a Johnny Rutherford or, one of the really, and I said, Tony, what's your favorite helmet out of all your helmets? And you go, Jimmy Johnson's 7th championship helmet is your most prized helmet.
Well, I guarantee you, Richard Petty probably has his 7th championship helmet. I know Dale Sr. had his 7th championship helmet. For a guy to just win his 7th championship and tie a record in the sport, and to sit there and lean down, tell somebody to get that helmet out of the car, and for him to give me that helmet on stage after my last race in a Cup car.
God, I don't know that people
know your favorite helmet.
I don't know, and I don't know that a lot of people know that story. Like, that brings goosebumps to me that he did that. I mean, that's really kind of a neat thing, Tony. Like, that's big.
Oh, I was geeked out about it. I mean, I was a race fan at that point. I mean, here I was finishing my career, and here he, wins a 7th and record-tying championship with Dale Sr. and Richard Petty, and to sit there and think about me as his friend and want me to have that helmet. I mean, that's something that, there's nobody else around that would do what he did there. I mean, I wouldn't have gave away my 7th championship helmet to anybody. I'd be sleeping with that joker every night, let alone let somebody have it.
Pam would have it. I'm telling you, Big Mama would have it.
Oh, God, no. I'd club her down like a baby seal to get that thing back. So.
No, Nelson PK would steal it and have it on eBay.
He doesn't even know how to get on eBay, for Christ's sake. I mean,
thank God.
He can barely run his cell phone right now.
Thank God Nelson PK can't list stuff on eBay because all your memorabilia would be gone. You know that?
Well, Eddie's the one that's got the majority of it, so if anybody was ever going to capitalize on it, it'd be him.
You got to
would have it on there.
You got to tell Eddie I said hi. I haven't kept in touch with him, but God, he's the best. I love him.
Yeah, he's he's been like a second father to me. I mean, I love my dad and everything, but, I probably spent more time with Eddie than anybody. And, Eddie's had to be around me at pretty crucial points in my life and career. And has definitely been a father figure to me. So, he's like the stepdad.
Who's the one guy? Mine's Tom Bean, my agent, who takes me to the woodshed when I do Bubba type stuff, and there's a lot of it. It's gotten a lot better. And you do Tony type stuff. We'll just leave it at that. Who has to take Tony Stewart to the woodshed? Because I get taken to the woodshed. Like, what in the F were you thinking, you stupid fat, like all the stuff? Who takes Tony Stewart to the woodshed?
Believe it or not, it's myself now more than anybody. Because I know when I do stupid stuff. I know when I do stuff wrong. And I know when I do it that I've done something wrong, and it's like instant remorse right away. It's like I know better than to do that. I know better than to get myself in a particular scenario or whatever's going on. But it's I think more so because I'm on the road so much now and driving the motorhome and everything else that's going on that that's like you said. I mean, that's those moments when you reflect back on the day and what's going on, and you sit there and say, man, that was definitely the wrong way.
Thank God for the motorhome, because a motorhome is when you take yourself to the woodshed, start punching yourself in the face. Damn it, Tony, you dumbass.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's, there's few and far between of those anymore. I mean, obviously when I was in NASCAR more, the pressure and stress that I was under was a lot greater, and scenarios like that were more frequent. But
you're Tony Light now.
Well, yeah, Tony Light, exactly.
Tony Light.
But there's no way I'm ever going to not be me, but it's, there's been some things happen that, there's things that you're proud of about it, and there's things that you're not proud about it. But at the end of the day, it's stuff that makes you grow as a person, and, it's the things that those scenarios shape us as people and how we go down the road and who we want ourselves to be.
How's the deers doing? I guess you know what I just pretty much told myself that I'm from Indiana because I made the plural of deers. So I'm from Warsaw. You know that. That's how we talk.
Yeah.
I
didn't want to call you out on it, but yeah, the plural of deer is still deer. So
thanks, Steve.
And the deer are doing great. Thanks for asking. So that's probably my favorite time of year for multiple reasons is the end of May, and because of the Indy 500 and the Coke 600, but at the same time, that's when all of our fawns are born late in May and early June, and when you have a deer farm here and you watch these babies being born, watch these little fawns growing up, it's makes me not want to be a deer hunter very much anymore. I'll still go deer hunting, but not near as much as before, mainly just because I really enjoy raising them, and I love watching. We've got some 2-year-old deer that we let out this year. And these 2-year-old bucks that we've got, my God, they look great.
They got these home. By the way, I sent some pictures of your deer when I was with you last summer to Fabrizi because he's an avid deer hunter. And Fabrizi was like, oh, my God, look at those deer. Like Fabrizi, it was like deer porn for Fabrizi. He wanted to get to Columbus, Indiana as fast as he could humanly get there.
Yeah, they got nice racks on them this year. So we've got 2 breeder bucks left that they are monsters, and I love going and getting a peek at them. And then, like I said, last night I got home and, just been a long 3-week period and just kind of laid in bed and watched TV, and I was looking out the back window, and 2 of these 2-year-old bucks were out there, and I took pictures of them. They looked awesome.
Wait, you know what? It is Tony Light, because nice racks used to mean something different in our world, and now they're talking about your deer.
Wait a minute. Listen, bud, make no mistakes. Nice racks still mean nice racks.
Can that be the quote of the day? Nice racks. Tony Stewart says, nice racks still mean nice racks.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to, in my continuing, interviews thing here that I got, Bubba UNsponged, I'm going to call a favor into The Godfather and see if I can maybe get that one guy that plays in that band. I don't know if I can do that or not, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You think that's doable?
That'd be monumental. I don't know.
Would you? But I mean, if the guy asked for a vouch, will you vouch for me that I won't be?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you do that, you've massively hit a massive home run if you can get that guy.
And you know what? I expect not to get that guy, but the guy that could get it done could be Eddie. And if I have your blessing, and that guy says, "Hey Tony, what do you know about this guy?" You'd be like, "Well, don't Google Bubba, but he's a pretty good guy."
Yeah, I always tell people not to Google you.
Yeah, don't Google. So hey T.
But I know the real you too. I mean, I know you in the studio. I know you at the racetrack. I know you at home. So I know all aspects of you, and that's why you're my buddy.
We've been such good friends, and I got to tell you, I can't thank you because, I mean, listen, it's not the most popular thing to be my friend sometimes, and you've never wavered from being my bud because you know.
When have I ever worried about popularity?
Never.
I don't give two shits about popularity and doing what everybody thinks is the popular thing. That's what makes me me. That's what makes you you. We do it the way we do it. You either get on board and go with us, or get off the bus and go a different direction. But
hold on,
I've never done things to make people try to follow what I do. I mean, I go to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah, this is how Tony Stewart rolls in press conferences. If I could, please.
Success, great luck today. You're having a great time as an owner. Is there any possibilities of hanging up this silly drive habit and just
give that mic away? You don't even deserve to have that mic right now. What the hell
Hold on, it gets better.
What's wrong with you?
Wait,
Climb over this counter and come beat your ass. Yeah.
At a press conference.
And I can't remember who that guy was, but you can hear the rest of the media center dying laughing.
I know, you're like, I should climb over this counter, like your straight Indiana Hilljack roots came out. I'm going to climb over this counter and beat your ass like you're at the Knights of Columbus.
I'm fairly certain, though, there's a smile on my face while I'm saying that to that guy.
No, you are, but my God, it's just refreshing and funny.
Who else has the balls to go in a media center and say that?
Nobody.
Who in the sport right now? Who can you name in
Nobody.
NASCAR that would do that?
And I don't know, Tony, of how many would do it, have done it, but maybe Senior. Like, I don't even know the people before you that would even really. Senior would probably about it, and he was just you were more barbaric about it. Senior would have been a little more, honky tonk about it.
I'm straight up Indiana Hilljack. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, that's what we do. We're straight up thugs.
Yeah, straight up thugs. Hey, T, I know you got a busy day. I took an hour of it. I can't thank you enough, my friend, how good you are to me and doing this for me, kid.
Well, I'm proud to be the second guy on. I mean, not going to lie, I'm a little pissed off I wasn't number one on the deal, but whatever. I mean, Sanders, like he's some big guy or something. But
he says, Sponge,
how about that race car? Whatever.
Sponge, he goes, Sponge, how about that race car driver that's got that bass pond? He wants to go fishing at your place so bad when he covers the Colts game.
He can come, man. I mean, normally about the time the Colts games are going on, it's got snow and ice on it, but
early on.
Fun.
I got to tell you, not that you want to do a reality show or anything like that, but celebrities coming to fish with you at your pond would be some great material, would it not?
That is a great idea. I like that.
You and Larry Bird, you and Deion Sanders, bring in like a Bill Dance, old school bass fishing guy, Johnny Morris from Pro Bass Shop, just, all the characters that you know in your life. And they just get on your pontoon boat and you guys go out there and cast and don't you think that would be a great show?
I think it'd be fantastic. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, remember that I thought of it,
so
I don't get a slider. Somebody will slide me on that. Misha will slide me on that or something like that. I'll get slid.
Oh no, we'll give you creative credit for it.
Yeah, which means nothing. How's Rico doing? You see Rico? You see Rico at all?
Which Rico? Big Rico or Little Rico?
Well, both, but I'm mad at Big Rico right now. He's mad at me. But Little Rico, I love Little Rico.
Yeah, Rico Abreu's awesome. Now that's somebody that I would not have on the fishing show is Little Rico, because Little Rico will screw up every fishing rod you've got. He gets them all tangled up.
He doesn't even care. Out of all your friends, who's the best? Because you can watch it. Like you could see me fish, and I'm horrible. It's embarrassing. I don't know who's worse than me, but like out of your friends, like is Sumo the best fisherman? Like who's the best fisherman? No.
I can outfish Sumo 8 out of 9 days. 9 out of 10 days.
Who in your friends can outfish you or come close?
Ryan Newman.
Really?
Ryan came to my pond once, and we fished one day, and he caught 5-1 more than me.
And did he?
It was embarrassing.
And did he crap talk you too? Be like, man, old timer, you us South Bend boys can kick you Columbus boys' ass.
Yeah, pretty much. It had nothing to do with Columbus and South Bend, but I mean, it was pretty much trash talking about. Don't you own this lake? Yeah. Why aren't you catching fish? Well, because you're catching them all, asshole.
Because you're catching them.
That's the way that conversation went for about 4 straight hours.
And he was wearing you out too, was he not?
Oh, I'm busting my ass. I'm changing rods with different lures. I'm trying this. I'm trying that. and he's throwing like 2 or 3 different things and just wearing me out and laughing about it the whole time.
And he's
like it was effortless for him.
And I don't know, man. I mean, you're tough and all, but that little bulldog son of a bitch is just—he's got no neck. He's like he's a NASCAR Don O'Neill, is he not?
He is, but he's not. But he's not a fighter.
No, he's not.
He's not a fighter. No. Never been in a fight.
Meanwhile, you got a neck, but you like to fight. I mean, it's just what you like to do. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
Well, I don't necessarily. It's not that I like to fight, but I will stand up for myself. And
yeah,
you know, if somebody swings at me, I'm not going to dodge it. I'm going for it. So
no, that's
I'm not gonna duck away from a fight, but you know, at some point, you know, you got to stand up for yourself.
When somebody swings on you, that just makes your right rear fire quicker. You're ready to go and get it.
Absolutely.
Hey, bud. Good luck this weekend. Where are you guys racing at this weekend?
I race at I-96 in Michigan and Plymouth, Indiana on Saturday.
Irish Sander, my boys. I love Irish. How's he doing?
Hey, he's normal. He's a pain in the ass.
Hey,
he's a great friend too. He's my buddy, and you know his kids are doing awesome. His son Eric, who got paralyzed in a motorcycle crash, still racing and winning in a sprint car with hand controls, and his younger son has actually moved up and running some 360 races now. So
when you see Eric's car this weekend, look at the top wing, buddy. Do you know what's on top of there?
I'm assuming it's a Big Bubba Army sticker.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
Rightfully so.
Hey,
I want to know what you did to Big Rico to get on cross.
Oh man, what do you mean I'll get crosswise on? I got completely. Oh man. So
we get crossover with him or vice versa.
Oh, I love Rico, and we're cool. We're cool. Just I think I went to. He told me.
Are you backing down right now?
Yeah, you pretty much got me spun out, T. So. He tells me I'm in Los Angeles, like interviewing this radio deal, like I don't know, like in like maybe March or April, and he's like, "Hey, you got to come down to Indy for the Indy 500, and because I got a suite, and you'll be up in the suite and everything, and you can stay with me." So I call Sumo, I'm like, "Hey, I'm coming to the Indy 500 to get content, for YouTube, whatever." So Sumo goes, "Well, goddamn, you ain't gonna want to go there. It is uncomfortable. There ain't no place to see it." Sumo's got it all dialed in. So I went to Columbus and stayed with Sumo for the first 2 nights, Thursday and Friday or something like that, and went go-karting with Sumo. And then Rico says, "Come on up Saturday." So and he goes, I'll pick you up at the airport because I had a rental car. So I go to Indianapolis Airport, I drop off my rental car, and Sumo texts me and says, "I can't pick you up, take an Uber." Well, Tony, you can't Uber right to the track when they got it all locked down. You know that.
Sure you can.
Well,
yeah, you can.
Well, I Ubered to the golf course. And so he goes, "Uber to the golf course, and I'll come pick you up." Well, it's raining. So I'm the guy that's now showed up to the speedway with my roll-on bag and my luggage because I don't have anywhere to stay. I'm that guy, Tony.
You're homeless.
So I go there to the golf course there, and Rico comes and picks me up, but I don't have any credentials and stuff, and he drops me off at his suite. And so all by myself, but there's a bunch of people in there I don't know. So I'm kind of the odd man out. So I go live on YouTube, and I see this older woman in the other suite beside me, and I just make believe that it was a girl named Penny Penske. So I'm like, "Hey, this is Penny Penske here, and I think she wants to sleep with me." And I was just, having fun and stuff like that. Well, I think Rico's wife watched the feed and didn't like what I was saying. So we're supposed to go home that night, and Rico goes, "Listen, you're going to stay at my house." So I go over there to Rico's house, and he's got all these people, which are great. And I'm talking to this guy who works for the Pacers and know Larry Bird, and it's everybody. Well, it's time to go to bed, and it's like 10:30 because we're all going to drive Rico's car over to the race on Sunday. and you ended up flying in and doing that Cummings old school car, and then you went to Rico's suite too on race day, did you not?
Yeah, a little bit.
So I was going to see you and everything on Sunday, and I was going to be in Rico's suite. So it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Everybody's just, not me, I don't drink. And Rico likes to drink. Like he gets nightmare drunk. And
he's a trained professional.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So he goes, we go to bed. He goes, "Go upstairs to the first bedroom on your right." So I go in there, and there's a man and a woman in there. I can't sleep there. And I got my luggage. He goes, "Oh, go down to this room." Well, there's 2 dudes sleeping in there, not like in that way, but they're just, bunking up. So there's nowhere to sleep.
Immediately when you say there's 2 dudes in a room, I don't want to be in that room, period.
Yeah,
So what's going on?
I'm out. So I'm like, and I'm not going to displace them. And so Rico says, well, you can sleep on the couch. Well, Tony, I got to get down to my underwear, and what if I have to pee in the middle of the night? And I just can't sleep on a guy. I could sleep on Sumo's couch, but I don't know Rico like I know Sumo. So there's nowhere to sleep. So I go, Rico, I'm just going to take an Uber to a hotel. And so I go and start walking out of his neighborhood to the gate, and I call an Uber, and they come pick me up. Well, there's no hotels because it's the Indy 500. So then I have to Uber back to the airport, and there's no cars, rental cars. I finally get one rental car, and I end up on Sumo's couch at 2:00 that morning. So I was like, Rico, you kind of did me dirty. When you needed a place to stay at my place, I made sure you had a bed and all that kind of stuff, and I always took care of you. Why'd you do me so dirty? And so it was just like,
Yeah, I think sometimes it's, especially in his scenario,
and I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him one bit.
No, I know you're not.
I know you're
not. It's we and I get myself in this predicament too. I mean, I got a lot of bedrooms in my house, and there's times that I tell people they can stay, and then I sometimes don't do the math and realize that I'm a bed or two short and have to move people around a little bit.
You just overbooked yourself, did you not?
Overcommit. Yeah, overcommit.
Tony, listen, buddy, good luck this weekend, and thank you so much for going on with me, bud.
I'm glad. I'm glad you had me on, and like I said, if I got to be number two, I got to be number two, whatever. But
I'm probably your number two radio guy. Like you probably do another radio guy before me, so I didn't want to bug you either. You had a lot going on too. You had a lot going on 2 weeks.
You're number one in that category.
Am I really?
Number one on the radio side. Yeah.
So out of all the radio guys, out of all your radio guys, and I can only imagine how many hundreds of interviews you've done, am I your number one radio guy?
Absolutely.
Well, you're my number one NASCAR guy. I don't like anybody else but you. You know that.
Well, who is there? I mean,
well, I just said I like.
There aren't many guys left in that deal.
Well, I know Kevin. He's the man. 4. I know the 4 kid. I know the 14 kid. I don't really. I know the 10. I know the 10 kid. I don't really know anybody else really. I don't know Larson. I've never met Larson. Is Larson cool?
He's cool. He's not our level cool, but he's cool.
So
he's a good guy. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. If you like playing golf, he's definitely a lot of fun.
Out of the NASCAR guys, who's on our level, like me, you, and Sumo level? Like who's on that? Like the 14's on that level, ain't he?
That's the only guy I know that's on that level.
Period. 48. 48.
No, 48's not on that level at all.
The 2005 Bubba Tony Sumo reunion gimmick. God, did we have a great time in 2005 or what? Oh,
we had a blast.
Oh, hey, I know you're busy.
We had a blast right up until Gibbs asked me about all the charges on the room, and I had to account for all of it.
Yeah, the $10,000 of room service that me and Sumo ordered that make Mike Arney hate me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, they weren't very impressed with that.
Not to be confused with the stripper pole that I installed at a historical hotel in New York City.
There was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They didn't have a problem with that part.
No, they didn't like the plaster that me and Sumo, when we cranked it too tight. They didn't like that plaster.
I cranked it too tight and broke it at first.
Yeah.
And you guys just finished it off.
Well, no, you did it, but we got blamed for it. That's how it went that weekend. If you remember right. You did it, and we got blamed for it.
I fessed up to it eventually.
I think in 05, one of the reasons why you kept me and Sumo around is because you could do stuff and blame it on the 2 fat guys. I think that's how it went.
Yeah. Had my fall guys there to take the heat.
Hey, bud, I'll talk to you soon, my friend. I can't thank you enough, kiddo.
All right, man.
Thank you,
I
Tony.
appreciate it.
Bye, T.
See.
There you go. That's my boy. What a great guy.